making falafel. Great favorite within my family. When I was 8 years old and I lived in Israel for 6 months, I ate that probably 5 times a week. There was a spot right down the street that I was able to walk to with my sisters, and you could not think of a better snack or even meal for dinner after a long day at school. So we are putting in grapeseed oil. The reason we use grapeseed oil is because it has a really high smoke point. So even at high heat, it doesn't smoke, and that's pretty key for frying. And good news is, because most of the oil does not seep into the falafel, although you use a lot of oil, you don't actually eat a lot of oil, so it's not nearly as healthy as you'd imagine. And the other unique thing about our recipe today is the addition of carrots. I've very rarely seen that in recipes, but we're using Michael Solomonov's Goldie's Falafel, well known in Philadelphia. He's a Israeli-American chef legend, owns the Hav, and this is his recipe, and it's my favorite falafel recipe that exists. So secret ingredient, chopped minced carrots, that gives it just that added sweetness and a little bit of a pop. So falafel is a lot easier than a lot of people think, because although it has a lot of ingredients, you don't have to chop anything. It literally just does all the work for you in the food processor. So if you don't have one, literally just making falafel once a month makes it worth it to have one. So you just kind of throw in chunks of onion, and very quickly it all gets minced up so that when you put it in the batter, there's flavor in every bite, and there's not like big chunks of onion that are unappetizing. Definitely do not skimp on the spices. That is what makes falafel really tasty and also very healthy, is the spices that are in it. We're going to do the exact same thing with a bunch of cilantro as well, because this has parsley as well as cilantro. Occasionally people will put mint in their falafel just to give it kind of a unique taste. I've done it before. I like it. I don't think it's essential, but if you have some extra mint around, feel free to, throw that in there too. Anything other than parsley, cilantro, and mint, you might want to just Google, hey, does this go well in falafel? You don't want to have anything that overpowers all the other ingredients. Now we are putting the cilantro bunch in, and here is a unique thing we're going to do. I'm going to throw in here some Thai chilies. Thai chilies have a very, very good flavor profile. They are pretty spicy, so you want to be a little careful with like how much you put in, but I think 2 in this giant recipe should be fine. I'm going to go in, with the seeds, just cut off the stems and get that all kind of chopped up. We're going to do one more press down, make sure we get some of the bigger leaves and stems down below. And by chopping the hot pepper in here, it will distribute the heat well, so that we have like little pieces of pepper and maybe some chopped up seeds throughout, so that you don't get like a big pepper chunk or, a couple of seeds all in one bite. And then it, is Russian roulette. You get some that have no spice, and then you have some that are just extremely spicy. This should spread it out pretty nice. Last, but certainly not least, the star of the show, soaked chickpeas. So the key here is you use dried chickpeas, and then you soak them overnight. And what that creates is a really, really hard chickpea, but it does have all the water content in. So because we're chopping it up really small, it allows the heat of the frying to cook the chickpea as you're frying it. If you start with cooked chickpeas, it just turns out too mushy. This way you get some really good texture and it holds together a lot better when you use the dried and rehydrated chickpeas overnight as opposed to like using canned or any like type of pre-cooked chickpea. Also at this stage, you put in all your spices. So we're going to add some cumin, some paprika, some salt to get that all distributed equally so that you don't have one bite that tastes, way more strong than another. This recipe calls for teaspoons, of cumin as well as turmeric. I'm going to probably go heaping teaspoon on the cumin because I think it gives some really good flavor with the turmeric. That's what gives it kind of that yellow hue and color, and that's probably why they call it Goldie's falafel at Michael Solomonov's restaurant, is because it has that like gold. I'm actually going to put a half teaspoon of paprika in there as well. Think that gives some good flavor, and I'm sure it has a little bit of nutrition also. And then we got to put in the salt. So it says calls for a tablespoon. Because we're using kosher salt, we'll try to do a little bit generous. One, so that we get enough flavor. If you're using really small pieces of salt, you get more salt. When you use the bigger chunks, it ends up being a little bit less. All right, so you want this coarsely chopped, but you do not want it to like totally blend and not have any texture. So I think we're actually pretty good. If I see any like really large chunks, I might throw a couple back in and just make sure. But I think we're good. I don't see any big chunks of chickpea anywhere. And, we got a nice coarse texture. As you get to the bottom, you start to see like a little bit smaller chunks, which makes sense. All right, soon these go into the fryer, and we're gonna have some falafel to eat. You can either eat them by hand with a little bit of tahini on them, or you can also put them in a pita or put it on top of a salad. I really love how versatile falafel is. You can even like put it in like just a sandwich with regular bread. There's really just about anything you can do with it once it's fried, and you can choose how you want to make it. You want to fold everything together, but you do not want to overmix, because part of what makes falafel great, or at least the ones that taste really good, are the fact that they are really fluffy and like airy. If you overmix, it actually gets packed together and you're going to have some like very dense falafel, which are not as appetizing to eat. So you want to just kind of fold everything together, and once you see that like, okay, there's no spots with like more of one thing than the other, you just stop and you let it sit. Let those flavors meld together, and hopefully it starts kind of sticking to each other, which is good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to form these falafel balls. What we're looking for is it all to stick together without like really pressing it together, because you do not want a falafel ball that is tightly compact and dense. You want it kind of airy and fluffy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my whole batch and make them ready to roll, so that once we put the first one in the oil, and once we do that, like, you want to get all of them in pretty quickly so they all cook evenly. So we're just going to form all these. I think what you want is just all of them to be not touching, and you want these to be the size of a golf ball or smaller. So another mistake is kind of making them too big. That doesn't allow the insides to cook fast enough. So you end up either getting undercooked center or an overcooked outside crust. You want it small enough that it cooks well enough on the outside, but still cooks through on the inside. So what we're trying to do is drop these in, get them frying, And what I forgot to say last time was once they start to float, you know they're ready. The other thing I'm noticing is when you drop it from really high, fragments of the falafel ball kind of fall off. If you drop them very calmly, they don't break apart as much, which is pretty obvious. So, just trying to get better at keeping my cool.
Super excited. Norm's been cooking this up for about an hour. It smells delicious in the office. We've got the whole team here. Excited to give this a try. I haven't had falafel too many times. Good consistency, good flavor. I'm going to go 8.3.
Falafel ball.
There we go. I don't know if I've had one so fresh. I'll go 8.6. Delicious.
So I love the outside crunch, and then the amount of flavor in the middle is really surprising. This is exceptionally good. I'm gonna give this an 8.7.
Ready.
Ready. Shooting.
I haven't had falafel in years, so here we go. Huge fan. 8.3.
That's good. I'll give it a 8.2.
This is really good. Good consistency, good fry to it. I'm a big falafel fan, so I'd probably give this 8.7. I think it's pretty good.
All right, we're going to try this falafel. Well cooked, good crispy outside. Inside's pretty moist. I'll give it an 8.9. I think it's really good.